What's going on, G1s? Tom the Airman here, coming at you with a final TexaVlog. We are back in Virginia. It seems a little weird to call it TexaVlog when I'm back in my home state of the Old Dominion, but this is part of the day I was in Texas and the rest of the day is in Virginia, so let's go ahead and go through it. After the emotional farewell of saying goodbye to Shelby, I drove back to the hotel room and proceeded to start packing everything up, because I didn't want to run into the same problem that I ran into when I was leaving for Texas initially, which was to not have anything packed and then ultimately not going to bed until, well after midnight, and in turn only getting like 3 hours of sleep. Well, guess what? That happened anyway. Even though I was much better shape and had a lot more packed up to begin with, I still didn't end up going to bed until about 12:30. That was a combination of packing up the most minimum necessary to be ready to go, but also having to do the last TexaVlog in Texas itself. But you do what you got to do to remain consistent and do everything that you need to do to have a good product. So I didn't want to leave any details out. So by the time it was packed up, the camera, the laptop, all my clothes, and the most minimum toiletries necessary so I could still take a shower in a few hours, well, that's where we were. Set the alarm for 4:15. I actually beat the alarm with a rollover and checking the time to see that it was 4:05, and I quickly punched the pillow because I didn't want to leave. Vacations are a wonderful and necessary thing, but when it comes to the end of them, it's tough, man. It's really, really tough. So went ahead, got showered, got changed, went shaving though, and I'm little rough with the 5 o'clock shadow, but it is what it is. And went ahead and got everything out to the car, and that's when I realized I still had a lot of stuff left over. I still had an entire handle of Gatorade, which I proceeded to attempt to drink, and then I realized there's no way in hell I'm going to be drinking 2 gallons of Gatorade in a matter of minutes. So I drank as much as I could to tide me over till I got home, because I wasn't going to make the mistake of buying anything in the airport again like I did on my flight out. Ain't no one here paying $3 for a liter of water when I can get a 12-pack for $5. So that's a little ridiculous. So unfortunately, I had to leave that behind. I really should have stuck to my old guns of, when buying handles of Gatorade, you buy one handle for every day that you're at the con. I bought 4, thinking I would actually be able to drink the 4th one at the time afterwards, and I wasn't drinking as much liquid as I was when I was at the Texas Shindig as I was just driving around town. It's 3 days of the Texas Shindig. It should have been 3 handles of Gatorade. You buy 4 handles of Gatorade when you go to MagFest. So, well, lesson learnt, as Fran Bow would say. Not learned, learnt. Leant. Learnt. I'm sorry, there's an R in there somewhere. Anyways, so I also had 3 bottles of Ozark water. I didn't think that would be necessary to bring those with me, although I really wish I did. As I was going outside and taking the stuff out to the car, there was a gentleman having a cigarette outside of the hotel room, and I to diffuse the situation, because the Econo Lodge I was staying at was a host of colorful characters were staying there, and I didn't know exactly what to make of this guy because he was smoking a cigarette outside one of the entrances and he was shirtless. So I diffused the situation immediately by asking, "Hey man, do you want some water?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, that would be cool." So I gave him that. That was like $4. Little 700 milliliter bottles, so I'm not going to lose too much. I'm more mad about losing the Gatorade than I am mad about losing the water, but it is what it is, and I didn't want it to go to waste. The Gatorade, even if you put like that whole handle outside, I'm not even sure if someone was actually going to take it, but whatever. It is what it is. Got everything out in the car, and then I realized I still had to get my Nature's Valley granola bars, because I bought 2 boxes of those. Still had a whole box left. Managed to find the Imperial Dr. Pepper with the cane sugar in it at a Kroger and Frisco when I was down there at the CDX in the video game museum. So they didn't have them at the store in Richardson where I got them last year, and I had to figure out a way to safely pack that. They managed to all get home in one piece. I was concerned that they and I don't remember how I packed them the last time I got a 6-pack home, but I was deeply concerned about the tops coming undone because they are twist-offs. They are not snap tops. That they would come off and they would leak, and I would come back home to a soggy suitcase. And it was also probably not the best idea to have it be in the same bag as my fight sticks. But it's, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If I put it in the other bag, that would have been the bag with the camera equipment in there. So you're either going to have a soda-drenched arcade stick or a soda-drenched camera, and I think being able to repair the arcade stick would be less costly than having to buy a brand new camera. So glad to got that home. Had that over some dinner tonight. I had some carry-out, kind of like a send-off to the vacation. Normally I would have just a frozen TV dinner, but I really didn't feel like doing that. I was still in such a mood. Yeah. So, got everything packed up in there, and, when you rent a rental car, you just can't bring it back without the same amount of gas that you were given it, and mine was just a little bit below the full mark, and I wasn't going to lose too much sleep on filling the thing back to completely full. So that's what I did. Plugged into Gas Buddy to find the cheapest and nearest gas station, which was a Chevron, actually at the very corner of where the motel was. So that worked out perfectly. Went over there, it was $2.09, which wasn't that much more than what it is back here in Virginia. So that was okay. Got back to the airport, and I was really starting to feel down in the dumps at this point. I was, already missing Shelby, missing all the other G1s that I saw that weekend, and really, having to fully come to grips with the fact that my vacation time was ending. And that's never fun. So, as I was rounding the corner, going back to the Hertz lot to go and deliver everything, I passed by a Shell gas station that had a combination Whataburger in it, which is always cool. Because you can get breakfasts at those all day, and those are great. Whataburger actually has a really, really good breakfast. Their pancakes are phenomenal. But I'm glad I chose not to fill up at the gas station at the airport because it was $2.49. Fuck that shit. Not happening. So I go ahead and I pull into the Hertz lot, and they say, Mr. Harvey, there'll be no additional charge. The car's in great shape. Like, you're damn right it is. And as I'm slowly taking all my stuff out, moping across, something catches my eye, and I'm in a little bit of disbelief. There's a Mustang in front of me, but not just any Mustang. It's black and gold. Black bodywork with gold racing stripes. And if you know your automobile history, Ford and Hertz has had a long history, especially when it came to the Shelby GT500 back in the 60s. Well, lo and behold, that's exactly what this car was. It was a Shelby GT500. GTH. H stands for Hertz. So that was really surprising. So took a picture of that, a bunch of pictures of that, and tweeted out, hey guys, look, Shelby's new ride is here. Gave me a moment of laughter in an otherwise dreary and I wouldn't say upsetting or depressing, but I was not in the best of moods, The coming down from the high, I wouldn't say it's post-convention blues, but as more of vacation time ending blues. I don't know how to describe it, but that was it gave me a really good chuckle in light of everything else that was going on. Got on the shuttle bus, got back to the terminal, and this is where I have to go ahead and give DFW Airport mad kudos, mad props, because it has continued to be, ever since I started flying in it for SGC 2010, DFW Airport is the most easygoing airport I've ever flown in at. I got in there Went through security, didn't even have to take my laptop out of its bag, didn't have to take my shoes off. Got through security, all they had to do was swab down my shoes with, and just, test for foreign particles. And that was it. I was done, I was through, and for, I don't know what it is, but my gate has almost always been within a short walk of where the security checkpoint is. I don't know if it's just worked out that way or if it was planned by that way by the airport, but it's been consistent that way. And I shot out a tweet saying what a wonderful experience this is, and the official Twitter account for the airport actually got back to me and said, we hope to see you again soon. It's like, well, don't worry, it'll probably be next year, because I typically only fly out once a year, so it is what it is. And I got to the terminal, sat down, and noticed it was still dark outside. But I saw way off in the distance, the multicolored sky of a sunrise, and I decided to go over. And sure enough, I was walking over just as the sun was coming up over the horizon. I don't think I've ever in my life actually seen a full-on sunrise. So I stood there, got my phone out, and started recording, and I actually watched it till it actually cleared the horizon line and actually had a bit of a distance up from off the ground. That was a really neat experience, and something that I never really noticed how quickly the sun actually moves when you actually look at it, because you don't want to look at the sun up in the sky and then burn out your retinas. But, as a low enough distance and far enough away at the horizon, you can actually see that it moves at a fairly decent clip, which gives me a little more slack when I see a day-to-night transition in a video game that's in relatively real time, that the sun does move fairly quick. So, that's rotation of the earth and all that fun jazz. So that was neat. And went down, got back in my seat over at the terminal and checked my street passes. Not a single one. I don't know what it is. Maybe it was too early. Didn't get any since I left Austin, which is a bummer. But at least I managed to clear Find Me 2 and start up the secret quest. Guess I'm going to have to wait till MagFest to go ahead and clear that, because there's no way I'm going to be walking around enough to actually get enough play coins to hire enough old wandering heroes or old allies to do that. Also, I found out you can only hire 3 at a time, which is kind of lame. Especially if you get stuck and there's like an idiot with like a shadow light shield or like a multicolored shield that you don't have. Oh well. It is what it is. And it was getting really close to, at this point it was 7:05, and I hadn't heard them call for me. And the terminal was at the end of one of the structures of the airport, all the way at the end of like a hallway almost. And it was terminal 28, 29, and 30. And mine was 29, Echo 29. And I was waiting for them to start, the boarding process to call everyone over. And like I said, it was 7:05. Boarding was supposed to start at 6:45. Still haven't heard it. I'm starting to get a little concerned. I don't know how, but they switched it from 29 to 30. Granted, I didn't have to walk any extra distance to get there. I had to walk past Terminal 30 just to go and film the sunrise. But the boarding was going on for several minutes, and they were already boarding groups 3, 4, and that was me. I was group 3. So get in there, get in line. They scan my ticket, boarding pass rather, and they say, "Sir, you've got the exit route." I'm like, oh boy. That means I actually have to pay attention during the safety demonstration, and I have to be able to consent to actually operating the emergency exit should the worst happen. Get in there, sit down, and I don't know if it was just lucky or if it was because of this particular Airbus that I was on, but the legroom in the emergency exit row was much bigger than either of the Airbuses that I had flown out with. Also, the seats were a tad bit more comfy too. Still can't do much about the headrest though. Even in the reclined position, I had a terrible strain in my neck. I can't sleep on a plane unless if it's an international flight, in which I'd have to say the chairs are much better. But my neck was very stiff. It was only a 2.5 hour flight from DFW back to Dulles International. Got touchdown, and touching down wasn't as nearly as soft as it was going out. But what can you do? Any landing that you can walk away from is a good landing, and we definitely had that going on for us. Went ahead and got down to the baggage claim and got my bags almost immediately. And it just so happens that, my flight getting back at 11:30 in the morning meant that my dear Mamo was able to come by and pick me up, which is great. Didn't want to have to pay for a taxi on the way back, but it just so happens that it worked out. And got picked up, and she was like, do you want to drive? I'm like, yes, I want to drive, because I'm trying to stay as focused as I can, because I don't want to think about being sad. If I'm going to just sit there, I'm going to think about being sad and, everything going to an end and missing people and all that fun stuff. I went home and had to worry about her backseat driving a little bit, but it is what it is. Got home, took all my bags out, and the cats came flocking to the door. They were very happy to see me. Gentleman was not too amused to have his picture taken, but when is he ever? He likes being on the internet, but he doesn't like his picture being taken for the internet. Weird dynamic. So, after I got settled, I needed to go ahead and head out to the bank and make the final deposit, with all of the room money, because we split it 5 ways. And we did something similar to what Tim does for MagFest. We used the app Cash by Square, and it took, and I don't know why, almost 5 days for the deposit to go through to my checking account. And I don't know if it's because I only had a bank card originally tied to the app. If anybody's ever used Cash and can provide any insight as to why that happened, please let me know, because they said you can have it deposited instantly for 1% of your total, or you can have it in by the next business day for free. And I said, I want it for free, because I don't want to give up any of the money that I got. Because, we're all splitting this evenly, and ain't no one, nobody's getting shortchanged. Deposited the money on the 6th. Check-in for the hotel was on the 7th. Didn't go through to the 10th. My account was almost overdrafted because of that. I swear to bejesus, if I had not been setting aside money for almost an entire year, I would have been overdrafted and we would have been kicked out of our room. That would have been seriously bad news. No bueno, no bueno. So, went ahead and made the final deposit, which was a split from Wordman and Lexi. And got all that money in there and should be posting by tomorrow. And by this time I was getting back home, and it was getting on towards 2:30, 3 o'clock. And I was really starting to feel it. The blues is one thing, but bear in mind, I'd been up since 4 in the morning, and I was just now starting to feel it. At this point, I decided to go home and take an extremely hot shower, and go ahead and take a nap afterwards. Got up around 6 and decided to do a little unpacking, and that's when I was reminded, with all of the extra stuff that was brought back, the food stuffs, the soda stuffs, and the sippy sauruses and all those things, I almost forgot a near disaster that almost happened at the airport. For those of you who fly, you may know that there is a weight limit for your bags. Most airlines, like if you fly Southwest, the bags to fly are free, which is wonderful. And it should be like that for every airline, but no, it's not, because they're a profit business and they're taking your money and never going to ask questions. But the base price is $60 a bag. And I don't like that, but it's what you pay to do it, and, you know, you try not to think about it. But it's up to 50 pounds. With all the extra stuff, both of my bags were over 50 pounds, and that made my heart sink. I didn't think all that extra stuff would be that heavy. So when it asks you, do you have any bags to check, you hit yes. How many bags? 2. That's $120 right there. That sucks. And then you say both of your bags are over 50 pounds. That went up another $100. So we're talking $260 to check my bags. And when I go and take my bags to the terminal counter to show my boarding pass and get the bags checked in, the guy says, "Sir," and his name was Charles. And Charles, if you're watching this, thank you. He says, "Sir, this bag is 52 pounds. This bag is 58 pounds. You have another, 12 pounds left on this bag. Why not take a couple things out of this one bag and put it in the other bag?" I didn't know it worked that way. If you declare one bag being over the weight limit, you have up to another threshold to fill that bag and not be overcharged. So he went ahead and saved me $100 by going ahead and refunding me the money for checking in 2 overweight bags and having checked in 1 regular bag and 1 overweight bag. So there's a little tip for you. If you bring back too many souvenirs on your vacation and you're over the 50-pound limit and you have more than 1 bag, make sure the 1 bag definitely isn't over 50 pounds and you have the other bag go up to 70 pounds. Now you can go heavier than that, up to 100 pounds. Like that, I think, is the maximum. But the thing is, you can actually have 1 bag that goes between 51 pounds and 70 pounds with no penalty. I mean, granted, you're paying extra for having a bag that's too heavy, but you can go up to that amount with no penalty. I had no idea that was the case. So there's a little tip for you. So rather than waiting, I decided to go ahead and just start emptying my bags, because that is something that I'd be really bad about doing, is just letting all the stuff sit in there for weeks and weeks and weeks and not worry about it until it became an inconvenience and got in my way. And I said, the majority of what's in these bags is dirty laundry, so let's just sort and get that stuff away. And being a little careful. There's some of those shirts that I have to launder very carefully, like the Team Yoshi shirt I wore for Mario Party Saturday. That's vintage, man, like all the other Screw Attack shirts are, but like that one was only sold at SGC 2013, so I'm going to be washing that one by hand. And that was the first time I actually got a chance to wear it. I didn't get a chance to wear it at SGC 2013 due to a communications mix-up. It was left in the room for Mario Party After Dark, so I never got a chance to be worn until then. Pity Team Yoshi did not win. Spoiler alert, sorry. But at that point, it was getting on towards 7. I decided to order carryout. There's a local Italian eatery called Brick Oven Pizza. And I like stromboli. I like pizza. I like calzones. And I was feeling in the mood for stromboli. Basically, if you've never had a stromboli before, just take like a pizza crust, put all your toppings in there, and then just fold it over itself from one end over the other. So it's basically outside in pizza. Just take that pizza crust and just roll it over, and then just bake it that way, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I dig that. You just dip the cut up into little pieces and dip it in marinara sauce, and you have a good time. And I had one of the bottles of the Imperial Dr. Pepper to go along with it. 8 ounces of Imperial cane sugar goodness, and then that brings us up to where we are right now. It's been a full day, and that was how my last couple hours in Texas was, to bring it up to where we are right here. So that's gonna do it for now. I think I'm gonna do one more video tomorrow as a final thoughts and reflections on the entire stay, and as to my feelings on the Texas shindig as a whole. So that's going to do it for now. I'm going to go ahead and have myself a liter of water and go ahead and start pulling this video footage off this SD card and start prepping it for assembly and posting to YouTube. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Good night, G1s.